What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I'm your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivon, and we are here with another short film on our Film Wednesdays, and this one is titled Black Boys Dance 2, which came out 2 months ago, y'all, this year, 2025, written, directed, produced, choreographed by Jamal Joseph, and starring Camden Coley as Darnell. So just like with last Wednesday's short, I can't talk apparently, but just like with last week, I am going to tag the page in the description box, and I'm also going to link the short film so that you can go watch it. One thing that I do love about this film, and specifically Jamal Joseph, thank you so much, because this film has to be like maybe 15 to 16 minutes long, but at the very beginning of it, Jamal goes into his reasonings behind why he made this. It's also based on a book. He is a dancer. There's like QR codes for you to go ahead and support like the franchise of it all. And it's very rare that you see short filmmakers, indie filmmakers do like a interview style type of thing, and I talked about this at length last week, so I won't get into it this week, be beating a dead horse. But thank you so much, Jamal, for just giving us insight for people to just see and donate and support. Now, before I get into the beauty of this film, I'm about to go off. I'm about to go off on the Black community. So for any of you that are not Black and you're watching this does not mean that you get a pass to say the same things that I say or even feel the same things that I feel. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, you can go find some Black people, do some research, and ask some questions, and figure out what it is that I'm talking about one-on-one, face-to-face, and get nuance about those things, okay? This is not like Black culture in a vacuum. This is just something that's very specific and very nuanced, but I just have to give a disclaimer. This is not your pass to then take my words and use them and then try to shit on Black people. Like, we're not doing that, okay? Just need to say that. But I'm going off because, okay, everything leads back to racism, but we won't go back that far. What it means to be a Black boy who grows into a Black man in the Black community, I really need y'all to let go of whatever this masculinity that you think is who you're supposed to be, okay? This film, at the core of it, was created to battle what we see within our own communities of what Black boys can be, okay? It's fascinating to me that a child can be born and parents are like, I'm going to give you the world, I'm going to do everything, anything you ever want, I'm going to support. And then somewhere along the way between ages like 8 and 14, it's like all of that gets thrown out of the window. I'm going to give you everything that you want within my image, right? Love is not really unconditional when it comes from parents to kids because it's conditioned based on how you envisioned your child's life going in the way in which you laid out, not in the way in which this human being who's completely autonomous over their own emotions is actually going to live in this hell that is, Earth, right? And the human existence. And so it saddened me and made me very happy to watch this because, like, I have a ton of brothers, right? And I just remember being a kid, playing wrestling, acting, dancing, playing music, playing with army toys or boy toys, girl toys, all these other things and all of these different assignments. And then I also remember going through this phase of like, this is boy, this is girl, right? I'm getting it from my side, siblings and, cousins, everything, like male cousins and stuff like that, getting it from their side. And it was always a construct that I didn't understand and that I challenged my entire life. Like, ask my parents. I am still challenging. Because certain things just don't make no fucking sense. And if it don't make sense to me, it probably don't make sense to nobody else. And I just was kind of like that questioning kid, not only for myself, but for the people around me, because again, like, this is weird. It was always weird to me to see like people say that boys dancing was gay, but then could praise Alvin Ailey, Gregory Hines, Savion Glover as being some of the greatest, dancers of our time. And it's like, do you think they became grown and just became great? Like, no, this had to be cultivated in them as children, which meant not calling them gay because they want to hit an A count, not calling them gay because they want to tap their feet or bob along to music or just move their bodies, because music is made to move you, the spirit, the soul, however, in which way your body wants to move and how you feel when that beat hits you, especially in Black culture and just African culture with the drum beat and the bass and how it's so prevalent to emotions, especially in our community. So it just never sat well with me that you could sit as an adult and be like, man, I wish the Olympics had more Black people. They would have, but you told Jaquan when he was 6 that doing flips on the rings in gym class was gay. Like, what do y'all want? Do you want us to be spaces or no? Because if the answer is yes, then you would actually have to admit to yourself that you're a shitty fucking parent. And then you got to reevaluate things and you need to pour into this community. You need to pour into it. So yeah, watching this brought up a lot of feelings. Because we're still dealing with it to like a lesser degree. And it's so funny because I was talking to my wife earlier before I even picked this movie. I didn't even know what this was about. And I was telling her, I love how like more famous, I guess, or celebrity men, are presenting themselves in ways that aren't objectively objectifying. So like if you think about 90s, early 2000s, like men was out here with button-ups with no shirt underneath it, no shirt on, draws is showing, prints is showing, just for the gays, right? Gaze and the gays. But now I was telling her, I think that we don't necessarily have like a lot of heartthrobs per se, because the men are presenting themselves to be respected first before somebody goes and looks at their bodies and, comes up with an assumption or a fantasy or whatever, about them. And I think we get a lot more interviews where you're getting, especially Black men. I mentioned Brian Tyree Henry. You're getting these Black men that talks about going to drama school, love being in theater. You get, footage of them. You have people like Jacob Anderson, talking about going to sticker shops in Disneyland and being grown as Black men who are openly talking about nerd shit or stuff that they probably would have been teased about or have been teased about, being called gay when they were younger because they didn't like sagging. They didn't want to listen to music that was calling women bitches. Like, you know what I mean? And so I definitely see a shift in the way that Black men are presenting themselves to an audience and just being more vocal about their interests that don't fit the limited scope of what it means to be a Black boy and then therefore growing up into being a Black man. So sliding into the good things of this, because overall this film is so beautiful. You get Darnell, who loves dancing, right? He loves dancing and he has supportive parents at home. Dad always loved dancing. Mom loves dancing. There's only embarrassing thing. And he's going through school and he's trying to express himself and show a part of himself that makes him him. And you got these other Black boys teasing him about it just for him to catch them secretly dancing too. Now, I don't want to tell y'all the whole thing about the movie, but I do want to go into something that I feel is very much like Black boy magic. Um, Black boys will watch wrestling, gymnastics, ice skating, dance, pick a style of dance, any style, it doesn't matter. And they'll just be like, I think I could do that. They don't care about their safety. They don't care if they could possibly break their neck, break a leg, or do anything. They'll just be like, I think I can do a back tuck, and then just go outside and do it. Like, there is a fearlessness in young Black boys that is so innocent and beautiful and should be protected, not just by the Black women, but the men in their lives too. Because to know that systemically access is taken from us as a community, to know that we have to fight to get in these places, to know that many of us didn't learn what we learned because we had all this money and went to these prestigious places. We watched it on TV. I learned how to dance first before getting into dance classes on TV. I learned how to do flips from TV. I got into wrestling from TV. Even now, as a 35, almost 36-year-old, my acting school, my knowledge of filmography, television, behind the scenes, knowing random facts and ins and outs of production and actors and directors and cinematographers is because I read the TV guide. I read the newspaper. I read the encyclopedia. I watched all of the behind the scenes. I watched the diary of whomever. I read the credits, the opening credits and the end credits. My school was TV, right? And so to know that this is something that's in us, we as a people learned how to read on our own because it was kept from us. And so it's like to know that you have these young Black boys going out and seeking something that makes them happy and pleases them, knowing that you ain't even got the money, you don't live in the neighborhood, you don't have the connections, and you don't have the access to do this for them, to see them do something like dance and say it's gay and completely disregarding the work and the knowledge that they're gaining and the studying that they're doing on top of school, on top of obeying your rules to even get to this point of expression. Like, shame on you. This needs to be cultivated in the home and within the community. So watching this film, it was cathartic. I went through so many emotions, but the biggest emotion is this big beating heart at how amazing kids can be and how they're reminders of resilience. And if you just allow yourself to be open, you can learn from children, and you yourself as a grown adult can go back to your inner child and know what it feels like for your parent who's supposed to be your first cheerleader, who ends up being your first bully, to know what that shame feels like and to undo that within yourself so that you can model that for everybody around you. Even if you don't have kids, modeling authenticity, modeling vulnerability, modeling just being passionate about something that isn't the stereotype that people try to make the world think that we are. So there's that. Black boys dance too. I go into these things blind because I think giving you all an authentic reaction, review, and recap is extremely important. And y'all get to get my raw, unfiltered feelings. Some things are filtered, certain choice words. But Jamal, Joseph, what an amazing job. Definitely going to be donating and supporting. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I think a lot of people need to watch it. It right now it has a 2K views on YouTube. We need to get it up to more. We need to spread the word, not only for indie filmmakers, but just the purpose of the story. Because yes, Black boys can dance too, but literally put in any type of sport or anything else, and this is still the same message that needs to be out there. Black boys dance too. Black boys skate too. Black boys cry too. Pick a thing. Black boys ice skate, skateboard, like pick a thing, right? This is something that we need to work hard at removing toxicity in communities, and we need to allow people to be them and exist, because we only get this one body, we only get this one time to live. And just because you're miserable doesn't mean that you have the right to put misery on other people who have only been here on earth for a little bit of time, because at the end of the day they still turn into adults, and we want them to be their best selves as adults. So let's do what we can by making them their best selves as young men and women. And with that, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments in the comments box below. If you got people that only want to listen, baby, share that Spotify and that Apple Podcast link. You can find me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I do a lot more film and entertainment. I always blank on this, film and TV updates that I don't talk about on the podcast. And you can also find me on TikTok, where I do reviews and weekly recaps on certain shows that I do not talk about on this podcast. So if you have a show that you're just like, dang, I wonder what Kivashi thinks about that, most likely it's on TikTok. And if it's not on TikTok, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I will put it in my rotation as best as I can, because I am a busy woman, okay? And as always, you can find me popping my shit on Twitter at Kivashi. And with that, I will catch y'all in the next episode.